What's up, everybody? bboyspaz here again, and we're going to be looking at another Production 101. Excuse my voice and the sniffing and stuff. I just woke up and, in North Carolina, the pollen will coat everything and your car will be yellow when you wake up. So, yeah, it's kind of all up in my nostrils. But, anyways, today we're going to be looking at adding bass lines to samples, and I'm going to go over a little tiny bit of music theory. Tiny bit, because music theory is pretty deep, and I was never the best at explaining theory anyway. And I mean, we could go over it forever, and I could do like 20 videos just on theory. So, but let's talk a little bit about it. So basically, two things to always remember. First off, bass line is probably one of the most important things to a track other than the drums itself. Reason being is because your drums and your bass are usually part of something called the rhythm section. So if you're talking about actual bands, you got a rhythm section. You're normally going to include your drummer, your bassist, and your keyboard player can be half and half of rhythm section because they have the comp behind everything to keep the groove going. And that's what the band does. So when you're using a sample and you start adding stuff to it, you got to remember that what you're doing is you're being the rhythm section and you're adding the groove to the sample. So because of that, since the rhythm section is one being, you have to kind of treat them together. So tips on the bass, normally it's going to go along with the kick drum. Half the time if you have your kick hitting a certain way, the bass line is going to hit just about that same way. There's always exceptions to the rule in music. You can basically break every rule in music. But if you want to get good at something, you need to learn the rules first and follow the road. So, yet again, your bass line is usually going to follow the kick. So I have a track here, just an example of a bass line. We're going to listen to it real quick. Alright, so as we see there, my bass line actually wasn't following the kick. It's actually following the sample itself. Now, number one rule to remember about bass lines: your bass is going to be the root note. Meaning, when you have your chords, there are 3 notes in a chord, and the bottom note is the root note. So, for instance, let me pick my bass sound. Alright, so I don't know how well you can see the keyboard. Hopefully you can see it, but so we have our keys here, and basic theory is you have a scale. I hate this keyboard. Come on. You see this, guys? This is why I need a new keyboard. Gosh. Okay, let's try this again. Anyways, you have a scale. It can be from C to C. And that's going to be a major scale. And for every note on a scale, you have a chord. So, like these 3 would be a C major chord. And the root of that would be C. So what you really have to do to get good at bass lines is train your ear to be able to hear the root notes going along with your sample. Because if you hear on this one, all I'm doing is playing the roots to go along with the sample. So I'm going to get rid of the drums and just play the bass. Now this isn't something that's going to come overnight. It takes some time to actually be able to hear what's going on. Also, the more you know about theory, it helps out a lot. let's try and look at another track. What you'll find yourself doing most of the time is either following the kick drum or following the sample itself. Because another big tip is listen to your sample. I mean, you know, obviously when they recorded the song, they had a bass player. And if you like literally listen to it, you can half the time just play the bass line that's in there. So here's another track. You see right now I'm not doing anything serious with the bass. I'm literally just hitting the root note. The piano's playing it in the song. And the way I chopped it gives it those hits. So that's all in the way I chopped the sample. And then I have a change up right here. Now listen to just the sample. And if you can hear the bass line, it's doing the same thing I was doing. The only difference is a lot of times the bass players will put a lot of little fills and stuff in there. Half the time I don't copy all that because it doesn't really sound right on a hip hop track. It kind of sounds all over the place. Listen to that section where it changes again. So you hear it was like do 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 do. I don't play all that. I just go ooh. So that is just a quick look on bass lines. We didn't go over too much there because my freaking keyboard had to give out on me. But hit me up with some questions. I'll talk a little bit more about music theory. Like I said again, we'll do basic theory. I'm not gonna go into anything serious because this is too much. For that, maybe I'll find some books and suggest books. Because even while I was in school, you know, I learned the theory and I have a good ear. But when it came to doing it on paper, it didn't happen the best. But any more questions about bass lines, hit me up. Subscribe to the page, get on it. I know I haven't been up on the videos in a minute, but I'm gonna keep coming, so get up on it. I'm out. Peace.